episode number 137 with Mark Stanwyck. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike.
How the hell are you, Mikey?
Still breathing, Stevie. Not too bad.
That's good. That's good.
Poker results have been as bad as they can be, but
well,
let's just move beyond that.
How well, you were up the last time I talked to you. Has cash been going pretty rough, or what?
Yeah, well, I went to the WPT and fired that twice.
Oh, you did?
And
I wanted a piece of you, man.
And
did you already sell some to that one guy?
Yeah, somebody got all of me is the way I do it. But
okay. Yeah,
I don't know, Steve. Lost a lot of money. But hopefully we got a way out.
Bitcoin.
That way is dun dun dun.
Bitcoin, digital currency.
I don't know. I don't believe in anything, Steve, but you're a smart guy. You've done you've invested some time into looking at this, and this might be a way to make some money, right?
Well, we'll see. I'm excited about this. We talked about bringing Mark on the last show with.
Who is Mark? We didn't really talk about him other than to say he's an expert.
Well, he. I get the impression he's.
Steve, I'm a guy with a poker podcast. Does that mean I'm an expert? I mean, I don't mean to question his credentials. I'm just saying we got to,
He seems to me like kind of an entrepreneur. His past experience has been dealt with SEO, search engine optimization, doing a lot of computer stuff. And he recently, within the last few months, has just kind of become intrigued by digital currency and Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that. And he says he spends about 4 to 6 hours a day just researching this stuff. So I thought, well, that's 4 to 6 more hours per day than I put into it. He knows a lot more about it than I do.
How'd you get in contact with Mark?
Friend of a friend. And just let me know that, hey, you're kind of talking about Bitcoin a lot. This guy seems to know his stuff. So
Steve, all you need to do is hear the word entrepreneur and you get excited.
Yes, that does put a smile on my face, that's for sure.
For me, it's like hot fudge, caramel, lap dance. But for you, entrepreneur, just I
think you got to throw strippers in there too for you.
Right. Well, yeah. Yes. You'll jump out of bed with 105-degree fever to talk to an entrepreneur.
That's very true.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we talked a little bit about it, and I was just saying. I've been in a card room and hearing people talk about, do not sell your Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin for like over a year now. And now the math backs that up,
Yeah, I tell you what, one of my things every morning I've been waking up and just checking my my account just to see what Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin are doing. It's funny, I didn't check it for 4 months at a time when it was doing nothing. And then now all of a sudden it's like, man, I'm making like $100 a day on this thing. This is awesome.
You have Ethereum and Litecoin too?
I've got one Bitcoin, one Ethereum, and one Litecoin. And I was going to transfer the Litecoin just over to Ethereum because that's what Mark was, he recommended I did 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But another part of it too is Litecoin has been going up. So I'm gonna wait until I make any moves. Maybe buying Neo or some of these other ones he was talking about. But I just wanted to get him on the interview first to really what have you learned in the last 3 weeks? And what the still go with the same plan buying Ethereum, or should I kind of delve into some more of these? I don't know. I don't know what to call them other than penny stocks. I guess like penny cryptocurrency. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we get into the language. There's the of course the Bitcoin. They're not all Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a brand of cryptocurrency, right? So
yeah.
And then all the other ones are usually called altcoins.
I haven't heard that before.
That's the term that's used for all the pretty much everything on the outlier. Although people will say Ethereum is now so established that's really not an altcoin. That's just a coin. But
Okay.
that's what I heard. You'll I'm not going to be able to do the interview. I'm hopefully set you up for some questions here as we talk.
Yeah, you've got a heart out. But
so the theory is, and I think like all the altcoin, like Neo is a great investment, going to go up. But Neo, whenever Bitcoin surges, it's kind of like Bitcoin's, I guess, AT&T, and you're kind of wondering where some of these small little companies are necessary, I think. So whenever Bitcoin really surges, all the altcoins kind of take a little bit of a dive.
Oh, okay.
So like my one buddy who owns whatever the hell it is, 1,000 Neo, just sold them all yesterday he got in at $5. They got up to $40. He sold them yesterday at like $33, $34, I think. But he's going to rebuy in when it hits $28. This is what his investor says.
Okay.
Because and that way Bitcoin will be higher and this will be lower, and you'll be able to buy more.
Yeah.
Get more. So I think that part of it. I don't know, man. I would just become obsessive. I think I'm just going to buy my coins and sit on them. But that's part of the thing. Bitcoin goes up, you can sell something and then buy in cheaper when your Bitcoin's has more value and the other one is going down a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with like massive volume of some of this stuff. But anyways, the only thing I did sell some stuff, Steve. What you said, and what a few other people said, is Bitcoin should be at least 50% or more of your overall portfolio.
I think so. We could ask Mark about it, but it was the first one. It's the most successful. It's accepted, by more and more companies. It seems like every week. And in order to even buy some of these other coins, you have to buy it with Bitcoin. So, I mean, that right there says it's the backbone, I am curious about are you familiar with blockchain, like how these are set up? It's like every transaction that you make with this Bitcoin is traceable back to when it was mined. And as this goes on and on, this blockchain just gets longer and longer and longer. And I don't know if that's going to equate to, storage, problems later on down the road, or if the natural progression of computers are going to just naturally keep up with that. I don't know. I'm curious to ask Mark about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a blockchain account, but to use just to move money around to poker sites. So I don't know if you're talking about the website blockchain, or is this like a term you're talking about just to?
Oh, there's a website blockchain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like there's Coinbase, there's blockchain. You can have a problem moving money to poker sites from Coinbase because they're gambling sites. But you go to blockchain and they don't really know where it's coming from, I think.
Okay.
I don't know, Steve. Once again, like analyzing hands, I don't really know what I'm talking about. But like I said, the only thing is that, like I said, I was saying it's too late to get in, and you're saying we're still early. So you're right. Although when I look through my little history, like I saw last year, I sold 4.5 Bitcoin to my Bank of America, for $1,800.
Oh, wow.
So today that would be worth
16
over 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hindsight's 20/20, man. You can't beat yourself up
and like
about
just
the past.
just this January, like I said, or whatever it was, when I had there's a guy at the casino who's just hoarding it all, who's like, yeah, give me your Bitcoin, I'll give cash. And I was, I didn't want all the money going through my bank, but he even charged like a 5% rake on it. You know what I mean? This guy's just awful. But
well,
awful.
Did you sell to him? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
I sent him my Bitcoin and he gave me money, but I sold like probably 11 or 12 Bitcoin for $900 each.
Okay.
I mean, the bottom line is I needed anyways, won't think about all the possibilities here, but I have, speaking of a trace of information though, I can look and like see specifically at the times when I did have, 10 or more Bitcoin in my blockchain or Coinbase account,
Yeah. I know. I wish when I got it for 450, and then shortly after that it went down to 220. I wish I'd snagged up 100 of them, but who the hell knew? You know, at that time it was like, well, this could completely take a dive and go away, or it might gain some traction. You just don't know. Oh, it's last.
So you are ready poised to put some money in your account though, and get some investment. You're just trying to decide exactly what to get here.
I think I'm going to go with Ethereum. I mean, last I checked, it was like 330 each, something like that, 330, 350. I just bought it like I don't know, a month or 5 weeks ago at 250. I don't know.
Up to 387.
387. Wow. Okay. Maybe I'll get another couple of those, but I am intrigued.
You can't now. If you want to be like gambly though, and see the like Ethereum and Bitcoin, are still going to have like the one guy who did like who was doing predictions. I just happened to look, and I mean this is just one guy on video. Like this one dude is sending me all these video links. Like this guy predicted Bitcoin at $15,000 next year.
Wow, that'd be awesome.
But he also predicted Neo at $200.
Okay, what's Neo at right now? Like 50 or
$33.
30. Oh, that's right. Okay.
So basically, you're getting 150% on your Bitcoin, or on the 300%, but here 700% of Neo, and some of the other stuff you never know. You take a shot at it. I have one that is doubled. I bought 40,000 shares, and it was worth $400. It's now worth $800 or something. You know what I mean?
And which one was that?
That was Digibyte.
Digibyte. I'm sure it was.
So, but that's probably. This is probably as high as it goes, you know what I mean? But I mean, like, if you're a gambler like me, but basically I'm saying, yeah, if you want to just be like a sound investor, if you did nothing but get Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm told you wouldn't be making any mistakes for sure. They're both about as good as solid investments as you can make.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you want to take a shot on some of these, on Ripple, Steam, Digibyte, are all like the cheap ones that are that I have.
Ripple, Steam. I've heard of Ripple. I haven't heard of Steam.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but it's $1.50 each.
Okay. I love this. It's fun. It so translates to poker because it's at the heart of it, you're gambling.
Sorry, I lost you there.
Oh, I said this so translates to gambling because to poker, because at the heart of it you're gambling, and on the flip side of the coin too,
quotation marks, for the people.
Yeah, air quotes there. But also, so many, especially our listeners, are online poker players, and Bitcoin is a really easy way to move money on and off. So it's fun.
Yeah, I don't know how. Like I said, Neo took a big dive. What they had called a flash crash 2 days ago. It would drop from like 44 down to $30 or something.
Okay.
And, I was following all the info, and the Chinese government just said they're going to do a crackdown on ICOs and look into these companies. And so everybody panicked, and I forget, Neo stopped doing some sort of operation or something. But like I watched this one video of Calming. He's like, this shows that Neo is a mature company here, and that the Chinese government is doing what's proper. They want information. They want to make sure there's not a bunch of pump and dump stocks that they're taking responsibility for. There's the Securities and Exchange Commission with stocks. It doesn't mean that the stock market's crashing when that was established, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was this guy's mature thing. Because a lot of people just sell all your Neo immediately. So I think it was just kind of a bit of a panic with the Neo.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin was going up. So that was. But anyways, I saw that term flash crash or something like that, because Neo took a big, within an hour, went way down. And it is kind of funny. I also had I bought Monaco. I'm looking at these Monaco. I bought like 100 of them at $8, and this is the one that was going nuts. $8.72. I bought 100 of them, and it went all the way up to $24.
Wow!
So I was up like $1,600 in like a week. And I don't know if you call this a market correction or whatever. It started going down, and this is where my buddy said, "Get rid of the altcoins and put it all in Bitcoin while Bitcoin's surging." So I sold half my Monaco. I didn't like this running around selling everything, blah, blah, blah. Plus I have like so many different coins. So I'd sold half my Monaco at $19, $19.61.
Well, that's a good
and
profit.
it just kept plummeting. Now it's down to $12.32.
Well, you sold good then.
So, and I don't know if it drops back under 10, I don't know if that the smart move with that. Maybe that's one you could ask, which is, buy a bunch of Monaco again, because it's going to go up. It just happened to
have a little surge yet. Yeah.
So, anyways, I have like 17 coins, but I did sell. I did make sure that most of mine was in Bitcoin and Ethereum. I've got 8 Ethereum and 1 Bitcoin.
Nice. You have 8 Ethereum?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Right on.
So that's the bulk of my money. Unfortunately, Steve, because of this past week where I lost 5 figures.
Really?
My little plan of just keep hopefully putting $1,000 in coin every 2 weeks is going to be hard to do.
How much was that tournament? It was 4K?
Yeah, I don't want to more. I lost 5 figures just in cash. Never mind the tournaments are online.
Okay.
It was about absurd amount of money, for how much percentage of my income. I don't know, Steve. I got to get out. I have to get out of poker. I don't know how to do that. Anyone else has any suggestions? I cannot do it anymore. I don't enjoy it.
Not having fun anymore?
I'm not losing money. I like having a lot of chips in tournaments. That's about it.
Yeah. I had a deep run
that's what Assassinato said. Sorry.
I was going to say, I had a deep run the other day. I got 7th out of 1,000 in a little $22 one. That was fun. It kind of bittersweet. You're hoping you're going to ship it, of course, but final
what
table
that pay,
was
like $900 or something. Or?
It was $650, I think. After the day, I was up $500, which was nice. I'd been on a downswing for a while that hasn't recovered from it yet, but it was a step in the right direction, so that was nice. It was fun. No, I walked outside last night. I finished my day and I poured my glass of scotch, set it on the table, and I went inside to grab something, and I came back outside, and Mr. Kicks was drinking my scotch. And I tweeted about it, and I thought, this is kind of funny, because whenever I leave a beer or, my nightly glass of scotch out on the table, he always takes one sniff and then kind of gives this look like, oh God, that's terrible, and then goes and lays down. But this time he was actually drinking it. I thought, wow, well, I guess that glass of scotch is going down the sink after he's done with it. But that was pretty entertaining. He got a little wobbly, and then he laid down and he slept for the next 4 hours. He didn't move. It was pretty funny.
That funny. All of it. A lot of that sounds. You started off. It sounded like a scene from some sort of men's macho magazine. Hulking fireman returns home, takes a bottle of scotch, goes out to sit in the sun, and Mr. Kicks comes running over. Just kind of.
I'd never seen an animal drunk before, but it was pretty classic. He was out. So what's on
Are you going to be grinding anytime? Ostensibly, you got some more grinding time these days without the date night with the wife, right?
I do. Yes, I have a lot more time on my hands. I've noticed. Most of it has been focused on selling the house. I'm boxing everything up. I've got the termite guys just came out and did some work on the house. I got a painter showing up here in about a week to paint it. So I'm keeping real busy with that. But I have been able to get in some more grinding sessions, which has been a lot of fun. My mind is a lot clearer too when I'm grinding. I didn't realize it, but before, there was kind of always just this thing in the back of my mind, we should be spending time together, we should be doing something, and so I couldn't really grind peacefully unless she was off on a trip and then I was home alone, But now it's always just me, and I basically wake up every morning. I'm like, well, Steve, what do you want to do today? And then whatever the answer is, I do that.
Your boyfriend's Steve now. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking to yourself. Okay.
Yeah, it's different. There's a part of me that kind of misses that, but then there's another part of me that's just okay, focus, move on, let's do what you got to do, and try to look on the bright side of everything.
Sounds pretty good, Steve. I got to say.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm also just trying to think of some questions to ask Mark here after I leave here. I'd be curious, like when he's studying, what exactly he's studying, obviously. Because if you go to like YouTube, there's now like 20, there's dozens of experts, quotation marks, who have their little Bitcoin, pages where every day they get on and talk about, what's their favorite Bitcoin and analyze the industry and da-da-da. If you go on there and look at it, it's just, immediately like a billion videos come up. So I'd be curious in terms of websites or, where's the best place, the best flow of information,
Yeah, that's a good one.
You probably would have asked this anyways, but I'm just, when you say study that much, it's probably like Carlos with poker. He's just, he's making money at it, but he actually enjoys the process too, apparently.
Oh, it sounded like it. When I was talking to him or texting, and it was a text, and I said, yeah, would you be interested in coming on the show? He's all, hell yeah, I could talk about this stuff forever. I'm like, okay, perfect. That's very appropriate. Good. So I'm excited. He should fill us in quite a bit.
Sounds pretty cool, Stevie. I did some studying with Doug and Carlos yesterday.
Oh, good.
So yeah, losing a lot of money, is whenever I do that, I usually at least take a step back to basics. Okay, let's study, and we'll start grinding those $11 tournaments on Ignition again, and that's about the lowest variance, I guess, thing in poker I have. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the $1 million tournament on ACR this weekend. You ought to try to satellite into that, Steve. I know you would never take $500 out for a poker tournament, probably, but
no. But I'll satellite into that. I'm sure they got some.
They got them like every
$20 to $50 satellite for that.
Yeah, they got those running all, around the clock. So that's a big one, the $1 million tournament.
When is it? Is it Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay. All right.
And the Sunday schedule is pretty sick. They got like a warm up event, which is like 300,000. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah, ACR has got some. You can put in some. Now we got all these tough pros and European players in there, but if you want to play a lot of it, have tournaments where you can actually make some money.
There's still some pretty soft spots. That one where I ran deep, I did get lucky once. I reshipped pocket fives to a cutoff open. I was in the small blind, I believe, and he had jacks, and then I hit my set, and that allowed me to make the deep run. But there's some real soft spots. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Reshoving, and they should not be calling there with anything but aces, kings, and queens, and then you see him call with ace queen, and you're just like, all right, poker's not dead. It's no. As you get deeper and deeper, though, the competition definitely becomes more of a threat. But it's still soft. I'm just running so below expectation. It's like my big blind per 100 is expected is almost 8, but in actuality, it's like 3.5. Like, man.
Well, I feel like I'm running above expectation. Like I'm winning a lot of those, ace queen versus king hands and winning flips, and I'm still losing money. So that's a bad sign.
Yeah. Well, did you want to bounce now, or do you got a few minutes? I'll bring Mark in.
I might as well just bounce now rather than me leaving 10 minutes in. Kind of weird.
Okay.
Okay, Stevie. I'm really excited about this episode. I will be listening to it as soon as it's posted.
Sounds good, man.
So don't fuck it up, Steve. Is what I'm saying.
Impossible.
We got someone we can actually learn something from here.
Yes. Alrighty, Mikey. You have a good one, and thank you. Check out all things Mike Snyderman. Follow him on Twitter, and check out his Twitch stream. I was on there with Aaron the other day. We were watching him grind. It was fun and entertaining. All right, without further ado, here is Mark Stanwyck.
I got supersonic speed that I used to run to you. I stretch my arms.
Mark Stanwyck, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, so I've talked about you on the podcast already a couple of times, and I was just talking with my buddy Mike. He had a hard out. He had to leave, but I've talked you up. You've kind of become the Bitcoin guy.
That's awesome.
Yes. So go ahead and give us just a rundown of how you what you started out at, and then how you kind of got into Bitcoin. I know you've been very involved with computers.
Yeah.
This seems kind of like a natural progression for you.
Yeah, so the history as it relates to Bitcoin and blockchain and cryptocurrency for me, I've always been into technology and computers. I'm 33 now, and I've been doing this stuff since I was about 7 or 8. So really, really early on, just when the internet was coming into place, really. And fast forward to 2011, there was an article written by a website called Gawker. And this was an article that introduced a lot of people to Bitcoin for the first time. And the article was about the darknet market, the Silk Road, and how there was this website that was on the Tor network that anybody around the world, including United States citizens, could go and buy whatever drugs they wanted and have them shipped to their house. And they were using this thing called Bitcoin, and that put Bitcoin not only on the public's radar, a segment of the public, but because the article was widely circulated, but also probably law enforcement to some degree. I'm sure they were aware of these kind of things, but it was the first time it had any kind of mainstream media attention. So that's where I first heard of Bitcoin. Did
you buy any at that point, or?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did. It was around, $20 or $30 at that time.
Nice.
I think this Bitcoin is having a heck of a time this month and this year. I think it's just this morning at an all-time high around 4,700 or something. It's really just gone insane. But started buying it then, investing in it then, and have just sort of been on the sidelines as an advocate and enthusiast and lover of the innovation and technology ever since, really. And a lot has happened in those years since, and it's becoming really clear that this technology is here to stay, and is looking like it will be very disruptive to a lot of industries, like banking, and all sectors of tech.
Yeah. One thing that intrigues me about it is it's almost kind of like a world currency. You know what I mean? It's not an American dollar. It's not Honduran lempiras, and it's not the yen, but it's just like a way for you to make transactions anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and and that's really the power of it, is that it's not beholden to one nation or one government. It's for everybody, and as long as the technology is sound and people want to be invested in it, it will survive. If you wanted to send $150,000 to someone in another country, I don't even know what that would look like, and the fees involved, and the red tape involved, and you can do that. The fees in Bitcoin are a little high right now, but you do that for $5 or $6 and they can have it in an hour. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's game changing.
Yeah. Now, what's your regular routine with like every morning when you get up and you start researching Bitcoin, like what or any currency? What do you do?
Well, so for a long time, Bitcoin still is the big dog, but for a long time, it was Bitcoin, and then the other altcoins that sort of try to improve upon or be different than Bitcoin. But ever since Ethereum came around, there's so much happening in the space. So there's a lot of investment opportunities. So I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I look at my portfolio. I look at what's happening. What's up, what's down, and then if you're sort of looking for a good place to get information, I don't know how familiar. There's a lot of good websites. Cointelegraph, CoinDesk.com, just to sort of kind of get a pulse of what's happening. But I don't know how familiar you are with the website Reddit. But Reddit is one of the places that I go for not necessarily information, but just more like news and sentiment. With Reddit, pretty much each cryptocurrency has its own subreddit, so there's discussions happening around particular cryptos and particular projects, and it's one of the most popular websites on the internet. So it's just there's always people on there posting, and it's just a great place. It's a great place for info.
Okay. And how many hours a day would you say you're devoting to this?
Well, so I either have the investment side of it, and then this is also what I do for work as well. So, easily somewhere between 5 and 10 hours a day.
Oh, wow. Okay. Even more than I thought.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So Reddit, how do you spell that? Is it just like red, the color, and then IT?
reddit.com.
Okay. All right.
And so
they've got 1,000 YouTube videos on this. Do you ever surf
Yeah.
around on YouTube? Or?
So YouTube. So if this is something that you're just starting with, and it's like, what is going on? Where do I even start? YouTube is a great place because there's tons of people YouTubing and blogging about it. Great tutorial information videos. Anything that you want to do in this space, like you want to figure out how to do something, set something up, use an exchange, buy Bitcoin. There's a video for it. So that's kind of the great thing about where we're at today. Is the information is freely available.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing about the internet. That was a game changer.
Totally.
I've got a question about blockchain. I was just talking with Mike, and he said well, that's a website where you can buy Bitcoin and stuff. He said it's like Coinbase, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe I'm completely off in this in what I thought it was. Maybe they just took that name, or as I understand it, Bitcoin is what blockchain means is that it's able to trace every transaction that coin has gone through. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's basically like, let's say you bought something with Bitcoin, and then now it gets transferred to overstock.com, and then they keep it and they use it to pay their employees, and then you can trace that link all the way back. But as Bitcoin gets more established and used more, doesn't that blockchain just continue to build and get longer and longer?
Yeah, so you're partially right, and you're correct in that the chain just does continue to grow and grow, and in a way that's almost the beauty of it, because it just becomes this huge history.
Okay.
But just to simplify it, I guess, blockchain is the technology that Bitcoin runs on top of. So the guy that created Bitcoin and coined the phrase blockchain is this guy Satoshi Nakamoto. No one knows who he is. Completely anonymous cryptographer, existed in this really, really small circle of cryptographers back in the 2000s. Created this protocol and disappeared forever. So it's there's this really, really fascinating history behind this. It came right after the collapse of the banks and stuff like that. So the history of this stuff is just fascinating. But he created this thing called blockchain, and what that really is the people will talk about blockchain as an immutable, unchangeable, uncensorable ledger of transactions. So as you're transacting with Bitcoin, they are getting put into blocks, and they're verified by nodes on the network, which can be run by anyone, and then they are submitted to the blockchain. And once it's a block in the blockchain, your transaction is sitting inside that block, and it can never be changed. There's cryptographic mechanisms in place to make sure that that's not possible. And as long as the Bitcoin nodes are running, that transaction will always be there.
Interesting. Okay. Now, is this going to, fast forward years from now, is this going to create any problems with like storage or maybe synchronization as these blocks get longer and longer?
Yeah. So the size of the blocks and how long it takes to mine these blocks is a topic of debate now. There's large discussions around the scalability of blockchain, the scalability of Bitcoin in particular. How we can make things better, and this is a totally different conversation altogether. But as the block sizes grow, and the chain grows, it gets harder and harder for someone. Originally you could mine Bitcoin on a laptop computer, and God knows what that would be worth today. But that's no longer the case. It's incredibly profitable to do so. So there's large mining farms in China, and there's probably 5 or 10 people that are responsible for the majority of the mining that happens today. But yeah, there are issues around the size of that chain. Now, does that mean that Bitcoin will become something that's unusable? No, I mean it's not that big.
Okay.
Okay. These are just text transactions. So,
okay.
There's only a finite amount of Bitcoin. I think there's 21 million. So at a certain point, those will all be mined and out there, and it will just be people spending. And it's divisible to I don't know. Don't quote me on this. Let's just say 1/100 of a decimal, for example. So it will just be those Bitcoins going back and forth forever.
Yeah, that was when I bought my Bitcoin 3 years ago. When I heard that, I thought it was 23 million, but it's 21 million. When I heard that there was only that many available, and I thought, well, if I have one in the world, I don't know what that equates to, but it's going to be a lot of money.
Well, that's the thinking. There are some people that think one Bitcoin will be worth $100,000 or $1 million. It's certainly possible. It's just no one is able to know where this is going to go. There's so many factors at play.
Yeah. That's what's fascinating about it.
Yeah.
This translates to poker so well because it's just at the heart of it. It's kind of I'm doing air quotes right now, gambling.
But
totally. Our listeners are just embedded in this because of all the online transactions with poker sites and how it's not officially legal in the U.S., but if you can move Bitcoin back and forth through on these sites, it's just a way to get paid.
Yeah,
and it's fun. I remember we talked about getting the two-step authentication with Coinbase. Having that, it's basically, it looks like every 15 seconds, Coinbase has this app where it throws out a 6-digit number, and you got to type it in real quick to verify your identity when you log into your account. You said doing that is good, right?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. It's when people are first getting into this, it seems really daunting. It seems really complicated, and some of it can be. But really, the thing you have to pay most attention to is the security, because there are lots of people out there that are trying to take your Bitcoin, trying to take your cryptocurrency. So anything you can do to protect yourself against that is really important. These larger sites, any large exchange or Coinbase is going to offer something called two-factor authentication. And what that means is that you not only log in with your name and your password like you normally would, and for Coinbase or any exchange, it's important to have a unique password that you don't use anywhere else.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, you also have to have a application that's on your phone. So even if someone managed to get your name and password, let's say worst case scenario, you had a keylogger on your computer and someone was monitoring everything that you type and then your name and password, they would still have to have your phone and able to get past that second step, which is going to deliver that 6 digits to your phone. So it's that extra layer of security that kind of prevents the human error element of it. And that's a very real thing. It's hard to keep your stuff safe.
Okay. You also mentioned getting a ledger, like a little USB drive that you store your Bitcoin on. I just ordered one from the website, and you were right. They take a while to deliver it.
Yeah.
It was, I think it came out to $90 US. But, you said that is very cheap insurance.
Yeah.
And
don't you think?
It won't get shipped until September 30th, so I don't know where it's coming from or whatever. But it's not going to be
ship from Paris, I think. They have a warehouse in LA, but they've been out of stock forever. And but you might get it sooner than that. I did.
Oh, okay.
I think they give you the worst case scenario.
Okay. And now I guess you log on to Coinbase and then you store your Bitcoin on that ledger?
So with any of these, Bitcoin, Ethereum, any cryptocurrency, it's important to have a wallet for these things, because if you leave it on Coinbase, now Coinbase does have some element of insurance. They are backed by banks, and they'll insure it up to a certain point. But with Coinbase or any exchange where you're trading any cryptocurrencies, if you leave it on Coinbase or if you leave it on the website, you don't technically own that cryptocurrency. You own, the IOU from the website that says, if you want to withdraw these, we'll give it to you. But if that website goes down, and these websites have a history of going down, even the big ones, as we get further down the road, this stuff gets, more mainstream and a bit safer. But still, if you don't have those cryptocurrencies in a wallet, you don't own that cryptocurrency. There's no two ways about it. If you don't have the private keys, you don't own it. You can't control it. So if that website goes down, it's up to the website to actually get it to you. So that means that you have to have a wallet. Now, you can have a wallet on your computer and own the private keys, but again, that it's difficult, and it opens you up to different security problems, and losing the keys, or deleting the wallet file or whatever. So the best solution these days is the ledger or some other hardware wallet. So the ledger, it looks like a USB stick, and you plug it into your computer. And because the wallet exists on that little piece of hardware, your private keys never touch the computer. They're never at risk by of being seen by someone that has some kind of malware installed on your computer. And you actually own the private key. So it's by far the safest way to hold your Bitcoin, hold your Ethereum. The ledger, they are adding support for new altcoins all the time. So some of the smaller ones that maybe we'll talk about today, as they get big enough, they'll add a wallet for that. But any major crypto, the ledger at this point, the ledger will support, and it's a really good idea to use a hardware wallet instead of managing 100 different keys for all these different wallets on your computer, and your computer goes down, you lose it or whatever. God knows. Okay.
Yeah. Now I bought one Bitcoin, one Ethereum, and one Litecoin. The Bitcoin I bought 3 years ago, and now I just look like a freaking genius.
Yeah, right. Well, you are. Yeah, I mean, you had that foresight. That's something to be said for that.
This is I've got 11 other investments that didn't work out, but this is my one home run.
Just takes one.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it takes. And I got one Ethereum. That turned out to be a pretty good investment, because I got it for $250, I think 5 weeks ago or something, and now Mike just told me it was up to almost $400.
Yep.
And the Litecoin. Now, we talked before about Litecoin, and you mentioned that it might be going the way of the dodo. Like they had a problem that I think Ethereum solved before them, and since Ethereum's more established than Litecoin, you were advising against buying any more Litecoin. And
so Litecoin's actually a fork of Bitcoin, and what that means is, since the Bitcoin source code, it's open source, so anybody can look at the code and do anything they want with it. So Litecoin forked from Bitcoin, took the code, changed some things around, said, hey, we think we can maybe do this better, changed some of the fundamentals of what Bitcoin was doing, and went on its way. That's the basics of it. But Bitcoin over the last few months has been going through what I referenced earlier as like the scaling debate. So how do we make it better? How do we make it faster? And Litecoin has solved some of those things earlier on. It's just, and has had a pretty good month. It's gone up a little bit, I think from around $50 to maybe $70. There were some new announcements that they made, and the price shot up, which just goes to show how volatile and unpredictable this space is. Litecoin will never overtake Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just too big. But Litecoin's been has been having a good month, and I've been paying more attention to it these days.
Okay. Are you invested in Litecoin?
I have a little bit. I try and go a little heavier into things that are maybe riskier that I think will have a large future. But I do have like smaller core positions in things like Litecoin and Bitcoin.
Okay. What's your, so you've got Bitcoin, you have Ethereum as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your total portfolio, would you say, of between Bitcoin and Ethereum and then everything else? Is it like half is in Ethereum and Bitcoin, or?
I probably have, I couldn't give you hard percentages off the top of my head. I have more Ethereum than I have in Bitcoin.
Okay.
And a large percent of my portfolio right now is actually something called OMG, which is Omise Go, which is a payment processor that runs on the Ethereum network. That's
Okay.
actually probably the largest percentage of my portfolio right now, and that's a altcoin technically, and that's where most of my money is. That and another project called Funfair, which is a gambling project also on the Ethereum network. And so, all of these projects that are popping up that run on top of Ethereum need Ether to run the transactions. So the more projects that are built on top of Ethereum, the better for the Ethereum ecosystem, the higher the price of Ethereum will go. So what that really means is, like, if you don't want to take the time to be in this all the time and be researching what's best, of these smaller projects that run on Ethereum, just invest in Etheream, because the more projects are on Ethereum and the more successful they are, the more demand there is for Ether, and the higher the Ether price will go.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a catch-all.
I want to pick your brain about the Chinese market in digital currency. Now I'm gonna tease it, so don't answer just yet. But Neo, OMG, we were talking earlier, and China is 20% of the world's population, so it doesn't take a genius to see the potential there. But I want to ask you about that. But first, I'm going to tell you about Tournament Poker Edge. Let's get better at tournaments. Okay. Join Mike and I at TPE. They've got thousands of videos, thousands of forum posts from some of the best pros in the business. Alex Fitzgerald just joined TPE, and he has his first video series up. I watched that one again last night. It's up to the 4th video now, and he's just a rock star when it comes to instruction. Sign up today and use the codes HUP month, HUP quarter, or HUP year. SYSC, man. Save yourself some cash. I just signed up for the year, and when you use that code, it comes out to $22.50 per month. You can't beat it. That's less than 3/4 a day. What are you going to do? Stop playing tournaments? That's obviously not an option. Tournament Poker Edge. Give yourself an edge in tournaments. It's in the name. Okay. Chinese cryptocurrency. What do you got?
What do we got there? So, China is really big into this stuff, and the thing to understand about China is they really only support and invest in the Chinese people, the population of China, in their own technology. If you look at things like Facebook and Uber and the startups here that are absolutely humongous and the monoliths, they don't exist over there. China has their own version of them. So when you look at something like Ethereum, which is, and just to kind of give the listeners a brief sense of the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is purely a store of value. You send Bitcoins back and forth, and that's just money value going back and forth. Now, the blockchain technology allows for this all to happen in a decentralized fashion. So what that means is it doesn't depend on banks, there's no third party, there's no governance, there's no censorship. As long as the network is up, these things are running. So that's really the power of it. Now with Ethereum, those same principles of decentralization apply, but instead of just sending money back and forth, you're able to execute code essentially on the Ethereum network. So now you've moved away from just being able to transfer value in a decentralized way, but now you can run applications in a decentralized way. And this is the innovation that people are really excited about, because it's like, wow, now what's possible? What applications can we create that really lend themselves to never being taken down and just running on their own, essentially. So that's kind of what people are really excited about, and the really, really disruptive nature of this. So that's Ethereum. But over in China, looking back on for whatever reason, just the culture that they like their own stuff. There's something called Neo, which is essentially the Chinese equivalent of Ethereum. And right now it's trading at about, I haven't looked at it today, but around $30. It was up around 50. It had this big run up to 50, sort of corrected a little bit down to 40, and then just yesterday, and again, this just goes to show how volatile this space is. There is some news of Chinese regulation around ICOs and raising money for cryptocurrencies, and so you introduce a little fear and a little uncertainty, into the equation, and the price just it dropped right down to the high 20s, the low 30s. So it's actually nothing's really changed. It was just sort of some news around some speculation. None of the fundamentals of the technology have changed. So it's probably a good time to buy Neo. It's cheap right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was talking with Mike. I was like, I was going to fire and buy some cryptocurrency a couple days ago, and then that's when I texted you to see if you wanted to come on the show. And you said, "Yeah, I could talk forever about this stuff." I'm like, you know what? I could wait 2 days. Let's let's see what Mark has to say, and then I'll fire.
Yeah, I mean, Neo is cheap right now, and it's got a good future. If you start looking at this stuff, the amount of projects are really feels endless, and that's because they are, and the reason that is because there's a lot of money to be made right now. Raising money through a ICO or initial coin offering is a lot easier than going through traditional VC funding channels. A lot less due diligence and responsibility on the part of the people raising money. So you can raise $20 million with a white paper and no product, and that's happening. And
what's that mean with a white paper, no product?
So say I have an idea for a project. Say I want to create, a credit card that you can spend cryptocurrency on. Let's just say.
Okay.
I put together a team of people that look like they can do it. I write a white paper, which is essentially, think of it as a promotional pamphlet, really. A white paper is going to go over the technicals of the project, the roadmap of the project, who's involved in the project. Any new cryptocurrency project is going to have a white paper, and it's just
kind of like a contract, I guess.
Well, it's just more of like, hey, this is what we're up to, and this is how we plan to do it, and here are the people involved, and here's the some are more technical than others, some don't go into the tech at all, but it's just like a roadmap, essentially. So someone that's looking to invest can get a firm sense of the project.
Okay.
But what's happening is that people don't have anything built. There's no code. There's nothing of substance. They just have a white paper and a promise. So it's a highly speculative market, and that can be a bad thing because it's easy for people to don't really know what's going on to get taken advantage of, and are excited about the technology and looking to put their money somewhere. So I say all this not to just warn people to be skeptical. Don't believe everything that you read. But there's probably only a handful of projects right now that are going to be around in a year. If you look at the top 20 coins from last year or the year before, a very, very small percentage of them are still here.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to take your time. A lot of this stuff is equivalent to penny stocks. So if that's what you're into, there's money to be made here in that regard. Because this stuff fluctuates so wildly. But if this is something that's a long-term investment for you, and I think that's the best place to start. Buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, buy some Litecoin, the projects that have been around for a long time and have a lot of momentum and really good partnerships and developers and community support. Get your feet wet that way. Get comfortable with using a wallet. Get comfortable with buying this stuff and securing it, and then start looking at some of these other sort of more niche projects.
Yeah, yeah. Now, okay, we talked about NEO, and you also mentioned OMG, and that stands for O means go?
OMIS Go, so that's OMISEGO.
Ah, okay.
OMISE Go. Yeah, so that's a company. They're based out of Thailand, and Vitalik Buterin, who is one of the founders and figurehead of Ethereum, he's an advisor on that project. He doesn't do that very often. He's an advisor on just one other project called Kyber, and they're about to run their ICO. That's actually not open to people in the U.S. But what they want to do is they have some pretty big goals, but they want to allow people that don't have bank accounts to be able to spend and transact freely. And they're primarily operating in Asian markets right now, and will be for the foreseeable future. And not only that, but spend some of these assets that are locked up and digitize them and be able to spend them like airline miles or reward points. So open up basically a whole new ecosystem.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they recently, yesterday, announced a partnership. Yesterday, or the day before, with McDonald's in Thailand. All the McDonald's franchises in Thailand, will be. So Omis Go is the blockchain arm of a parent company called Omise. So the partnership was with Omise. There's implications about what this means for Omise Go, but once that announcement was made, the price shot up, and people rushed to buy it a little bit, and right now it's trading at around $11 or $12.
When you and I talked a few weeks ago, I think it was at 6 or 7.
That's right.
Yeah, I could have doubled my money.
Could have. You know what I mean? And it's running up right now, and if there's no, they're talking about some pretty big news coming in the month of September. So again, this is not financial advice,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be watching it closely, probably buying a little more. I've made the mistake of thinking it's going to come down some, and that's when I'll buy it, and it just completely runs away from me. So do your own research, but there's a lot of potential good news coming out for Omise Go in September.
Okay. And what now, as far as buying these other ones, at least on Coinbase, you can only do Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, to buy these other ones, we'll call them the long shots, the NEO and the OMG. And I want to talk about Funfair too.
Sure.
But you have to buy these on Bittrex, right?
Yeah, so there are exchanges, these secondary markets that look and feel and work a lot like stock exchanges.
Okay.
I like Bittrex the most. There's a couple other big ones. Bittrex is by far the best and safest and most responsive customer support. So that's the one I would recommend. Stay away from Poloniex. It's another big one, but it's a nightmare. I don't know why people still use it. So Bittrex is great. It's run here in the U.S. You sign up for an account and verify some details about yourself, and you'll be able to buy Bitcoin, say on Coinbase, send it over to your Bittrex wallet, and then use that Bitcoin to buy other cryptocurrencies.
Okay, and that's, at least for me, when I see that, it's like, okay, Bitcoin's not going away anytime soon, because if you need Bitcoin to even buy these other cryptocurrencies, then it's just the backbone, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about Funfair. So we're going to tease this one again. But Funfair is interesting because it has to do with online gambling, which is right up our alley. Okay,
Right.
First, let me tell you guys about Elliot Roe. You know the drill. Get in the right mindset before you play poker. Whatever your game, online, live, cash, tournaments, sit and goes, even spin and goes. Try a 7-minute tilt buster. It's free from me to you. Click on the link in the show notes, put it right on your phone, and you can try it today. When you do purchase, use the code HUPOKER, score yourself a little discount, send some back to the podcast. The Mindset Advantage by Elliot Roe. It's in the name. Give yourself an advantage. Okay, Funfair.
Yeah, so Funfair is an exciting one, and I'm not a gambler, I'm not a poker player, but when you look at today's real world applications of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, a lot of it deals with gambling. I mean, that's what it's being used for today. Now it's going to grow beyond that, but the gambling space is one of the early adopters of crypto, and open source code and provably fair games makes a lot of sense for online gambling. People want to know that they're playing against a game that's as fair as it could be, and that their money and odds are safe. So Funfair is a project that's built on the Ethereum network. So if you were to buy Funfair, you could send it to your Ethereum wallet, which you can use on a ledger. And what they're trying to do is really upgrade the gambling experience that's happening on the Ethereum blockchain. Traditionally, every time with the games that exist today, every time you place a bet, every time you say you're playing blackjack, hit or stand or shuffle, all of these things, every action needs to be written and confirmed to the blockchain, and that takes time, sometimes a minute or two. So that's not a playable game experience. So
nobody wants to sit around and wait for a minute just to place one bet.
Yeah, so if you ever played a dice game that's that's built on the Bitcoin blockchain or the Ethereum blockchain, they're slow, they're not particularly fun, they're just not great games. So Funfair is a project. The CEO of it is a guy named Jez San, and he has been in the gaming industry for a long time. He was created or worked on a game called Star Fox for the N64, which was a really, really popular and innovative game at the time. I don't know his exact role, maybe co-founded a poker website called Poker. I think it's pkr.com or something like that.
Okay.
And he's been in the space for a long time, in one way or another. He's a smart guy, and what he's doing, they're kind of innovating on what's currently being done with something called fate channels. So the high level overview.
Did you say fake channels, like F-A-K?
Like fate, F-A-T.
Okay.
F-A-T-E. And the top level overview of how that improves on what's currently being done is, instead of writing every single thing to the blockchain, every single action, you sort of open up this peer-to-peer channel in the beginning of the gaming session. Everything that happens, during the game happens off-chain, off of the blockchain, peer-to-peer, and then at the end of the session, it's all committed to the blockchain. So it's like, instead of every action being written, it's just at the beginning and just in the end. And this speeds up online gaming a lot. And you can go to the Funfair website. They have a showcase of games that they're always updating, and you can get a sense of how much these improve on sort of the current state of blockchain gaming. They look really good. They're fast to play, and it's still early days for this company. I think 2018 is going to be a big year for Funfair if all goes according to plan. What they're trying to do is, they're not trying to run an online casino. They want to white label this technology. So they know that marketing is hard, especially jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So they're going to let people in those areas and jurisdictions do what they do best and market to the people they know how to market to, and just use the Funfair technology, which is going to be cheaper and faster than a lot of traditional solutions. And their whole thing is provably fair, because anybody can go in and look at the code and see that everything's above board and legit. So they did a fundraising round earlier this year. They're going to do another one. You can go. It sells on Bittrex right now. This is fractions of a cent. I think it's maybe a cent right now.
So you can put $100 in and just get thousands of these things.
Yeah, and my sort of price prediction for that is, I think, if it ever got to 20 or 30 cents, that'd be awesome. If it got up to 50, that'd be incredible. I don't ever see it realistically getting higher than maybe 50 cents a coin. There's a lot of them.
Okay.
To the tune of billions of them. I think it's a good, again, do your own research, but a good early investment.
Yeah, and so they basically solved the problem, if I understand it right, that there are gambling sites out there that you can play with Bitcoin and Ethereum, but the problem is with every transaction they got to run through the blockchain to verify it. And what Funfair has done to solve that problem is you basically, if you and I are going to play roulette, we buy in for $100, whatever that would be equivalent to in Funfair. Mm-hmm. And then we just play, and then when we end the session and we leave the roulette table, it calculates it at that point, right? So then it runs through the 30 seconds or a minute of the blockchain, and then you cash out and you're done. Is that right?
That's right. And what's cool about Funfair is that, in an effort to, I think, make this more widely adopted, casinos can take, whatever currency they want and just use Fun on the back end. So you don't actually have to own Funfair to play these games. And that's going to help a lot in adoption, I think.
Yeah, so you could buy in with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then it runs it through Funfair, and then when you buy out, you get Bitcoin back.
On the back end.
Okay, I like that. Okay, I'm going to get some of those. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. It's pretty cool stuff. And, this goes back to that conversation about identifying good teams that know what they're doing and have a good community. And the Funfair community is really, really active. There's a Discord chat room. Discord's a chat app like Slack or Telegram. They're in there all day, every day, and they have been for the last year, just answering questions, interacting with the community. I mean, they mean business, and a lot of these projects don't have that.
Yeah. Okay. Where are they based out of?
The UK, London.
Okay. Have you been in contact with some of the people on the team? Like, what's your confidence with these guys?
Yeah, I've been part of that chat for a while, and I've talked to the CEO. And I mean, if you look at enough of these projects, when a team starts to communicate regularly with the community, really good transparency, it stands out because it's not necessarily the norm.
Okay.
And, if you had a question, you could go into the chat and the CEO would answer your question. It's just it's sort of like it's this new paradigm where the retail investor, the average person, can go in and invest essentially in a project that they think is exciting and have access to the core team, the management team, and the management team feels this responsibility to answer your questions, even though all you want to invest is $100, and it's totally new.
They're an open book, and they're not hiding anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Okay, what my partner wanted me to ask about Digibyte, Ripple, and Steam.
Okay.
Are you familiar with those?
Digibyte, I'm aware of it. I haven't ever really done a ton of research on it, so I can't really be too helpful there. Ripple and Steam are interesting. So what Ripple is trying to do, Ripple, as the symbol for that is XRP. Ripple is one of those ones that people have really strong opinions about one way or another. Some people really like it. Some people really hate it. And what they're trying to do is, it's not even really traditional blockchain technology. It's not decentralized. It's completely centralized. It all depends on the Ripple, the company, to run it. So some people don't like it for that reason, but that's more like fundamental principle kind of stuff. Like, hey, this isn't true to blockchain. It doesn't necessarily make it a bad investment. What they're trying to do is basically speed up transactions between banks across borders. Improve upon the SWIFT network, make it faster and cheaper. The problem that people have with it is that there's the Ripple technology and then there's the Ripple token, and banks can use the Ripple technology, and they already are, and never touch the Ripple token. And I think it makes it a little cheaper. And so people make the argument that if it's cheaper, the banks will use it. That remains to be seen. So you could own Ripple, the Ripple token, the Ripple technology could take off and be used by all the banks, but the banks could never actually never use the Ripple token. One isn't dependent on the other. So even if there is the adoption, it doesn't necessarily mean anything for the price of Ripple. That's the argument that some people make. I don't really have an opinion about it one way or another. It's just not something that interests me that much. So I don't, I had some and then I sold it at a loss. And
those are stingers.
Yeah. It's just that, I invest in stuff that I don't mind following every day, keeping tabs on it, being involved in the communities. If you're in this for the long haul, you gotta find ways to have longevity. It's just my style. I don't really care about interbank transfers and things like that. Okay. But it could be a great investment. I don't know.
What's it trading at now? Do you know?
It was it was an all-time high around 34 cents, and then that was earlier this year when there was a lot of money coming into the space. It's back down to around, it hovers between like 15 and 18 cents.
Okay, so you could fire $100 and just let it ride, see what happens. Okay, what about Steam?
So Steam's an interesting one. I don't own any. I there are people that really like it. I think it's kind of cool. Steam is basically an example of one of these decentralized applications. So it's a sort of like a decentralized, meaning it doesn't rely on any central servers or third party to run it, social network. And what you can do is you can blog on Steam and post your own content. And the more popular your content is, you're rewarded in Steam. So it's this sort of circular kind of ecosystem. The more people that are using Steam, the more valuable Steam is. The more incentive there is to use it, and the price goes up and up and up.
So when you say like social, you mean like Facebook or something? Or
well, it's not. It's more like, think of it more as like a blogging platform. It's social in nature because people are interacting and commenting and upvoting. But it's not like you post pictures of your dog and get points. It's more like you're rewarded for posting good, valuable content.
That has to do with Steam, or it can do with anything?
It can do with anything. I think most people use it for writing about the cryptocurrency space because that's sort of who's actually interested in this stuff. The idea is to have it be for anything, but at this point, that's really what the majority of people are writing about. And Steam right now is trading for about $1.50. I think it had a high of about $2.50 back when maybe Ripple did.
So can you buy into Steam without having to post useful content? Or
yeah, you can own Steam. I think they're called Steam dollars. You can own Steam. Basically, if you believed in the Steam network and the technology and the vision, and you thought, wow, in 5 years people are really going to be using this, and the price is going to be up, you would just buy Steam and hold it. And as the technology and the site grew in popularity, because of the mechanics of the token and the way that the site works, the price would also. So you could blog about cryptocurrency and earn Steam that way, or you could invest in it now and hold it as a sort of a speculative investment.
Okay, and what? I guess like with Bitcoin, I can physically go out and buy a Tesla. Like, what can you get with Steam?
Well, basically, you can't get anything except sell it for Bitcoin and then sell that Bitcoin for USD.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, what about, have you heard of Monaco?
Yeah, so a little bit. I know it's pretty popular right now. Monaco, I believe, is a basically like the example I used earlier, like a cryptocurrency credit card. So you could sign up with Monaco and spend your cryptocurrency, link your wallets, and spend your cryptocurrency anywhere where Visa or debit cards are accepted.
Okay.
So on its face, seems like a great idea. It's like, oh hey, wow, why wouldn't I invest in that? But you have to really step back and look at, like, is this the team that's going to break down those barriers and that regulation and those compliance issues that have been in place for decades, and overcome these really huge challenges. I don't know. It's a good idea. It sounds good on its face, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be the ones to do it.
Yeah. Okay. That's why it's a gamble.
Okay.
Now, what Mike mentioned something. He said that when, generally speaking, at least what he's heard in his Bitcoin social circle, is that when Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go down. Is that a pattern, or?
Yeah, so the way that typically works, and that's happening more and more recently because Bitcoin's been having these huge runs, is, if Bitcoin's kind of trading sideways and it's just sitting at, $3,500, and, no one's really interested, or a lot of people aren't really interested in it that are, day trading and buying this stuff because it's not doing anything. There's no opportunity for money. So they'll be in altcoins, which have more volatility, bigger swings, smaller market caps, that kind of thing. But when Bitcoin starts running, all of a sudden Bitcoin's going from 35,000 to 4,000 and 4,500. People will sell their altcoins to move their money into Bitcoin and ride those gains.
Okay. Now, altcoin, just so I'm clear, is there Bitcoin and then everything else is altcoin?
That's sort of the simplest way to think about it. When before Ethereum and these other sort of decentralized applications, everything was just a store of value. So it was Bitcoin and then altcoins, and now everything just sort of gets lumped into altcoin and cryptocurrency. That isn't, well, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but that isn't Bitcoin. Bitcoin's kind of the big dog, and then there's everything else.
Okay. Cool. Well, this was a lot of fun, Mark. Thank you. It very informative, and I feel like I'm ready to slip my toes into the water of other cryptocurrency.
Uh-huh.
I'm excited. Okay, so just so I'm clear, to get onto Bittrex, basically, like, let's say I wanted to invest $1,000 or $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Put $1,000 on Coinbase, I guess it'd be 25% of a Bitcoin now,
Uh-huh.
and then move that over to Bittrex, and then I'll be able to buy the Neo, OMG, Funfair, and
That's
some
right.
of these others.
You'll send it to your Bittrex Bitcoin wallet, and then once you go look at the charts for any of these altcoins, you'll see you have a Bitcoin balance. And the important thing here is, if you're new to this stuff, always test everything with just the smallest amount it will let you. Make sure it's all working right. Make sure you understand it right, so you don't lose $1,000. You only lose $5,000.
Okay, yeah, I remember you mentioned that. You said before you just fire on these, send over a little transaction
always,
to make sure that
test everything. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a lesson you learned from experience, or one that you just always employ?
Luckily, I've never lost any large amounts of money through user error, but it's just sort of like best practice. I'll do that too if I'm using a new service or something's new to me. I'll just test it out.
Yeah. Okay. Very smart. Right on. Well, thank you, Mark. If you want to get a hold of Mark, you can do so through email, mark.stanwyck, and that's STANWYCK @gmail.com. There'll be a link in the show notes. And thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
What people think about you and the possibilities for your dream is none of your business. The attitude is it can't be done because they haven't seen it. History is being read, but it's also being written by people with imagination. It's necessary you take responsibility for it, that you make it happen, that you don't give up, that you don't take any objection or disappointment or defeats personally, that you keep on keeping on, that you don't decide that I can't make it because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you realize that's a part of the program.
As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking. To put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment, who make all conditions serve them and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must sacrifice much. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly.
What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Major step to human progress. Discipline. If there's one thing to get excited over, that's it. Get excited over your ability to make yourself do the necessary things.